This is episode 546 of the Eventing Radio Show, brought to you by Eventing Writers Association of North America. This week we have Jacob Fletcher and Harry Meade. This is Max Corcoran in beautiful, sunny, pretty great, quiet, peaceful Ocala, Florida.
And this is Joe in the same place, which is pretty beautiful and pretty lovely. And I'm sure our listeners get sick of us winding them up about it. But there you go. If you really want to see what good weather is like, come to Ocala, Florida. And you are listening to the Eventing Radio Show. So, Max, how are you this week?
Well, Joe, I'm better than you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sore ribs.
I know. Very sore. No, sore ribs. So, listeners, I got in I'd like to say small, but wasn't small. It was a large car wreck. And I'm a little beaten and bruised. And with some cracked ribs, which is a little bit annoying. And the most frustrating thing, Max, is that there's nothing that you can do.
No, just
and
like pain management, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And don't sneeze and don't cough. But
no.
Anyway, I think we're going to be in good shape for Kentucky, which is coming up very soon. I'm taking this week off riding. I've just been over to Anna Merrick, my dressage trainer, and she rode Johnny for me, and he looks $1 million. I'd love to just substitute her in.
Wouldn't that be nice if we could do that? How great would that be? Yeah.
Yeah. There's only one small problem. Yeah.
She has long hair. What?
She's like 5'10".
Oh, well, that is a problem.
She's got like a runway model figure, and she's 5'10" with legs long like you would not believe. And
right.
So it would and you know how long my legs are, Max.
Not very, unfortunately.
Not very. So anyway, so it wouldn't be good. But if I could sub her in, that would just be awesome. Maybe I bet that's probably the way that's going to be the way that the Olympics goes,
Pretty soon you can substitute riders and substitute horses. Do it all.
50 years time, Max. They won't have three disciplines. They'll just have a 3-day event with a dressage rider, a cross-country rider, and a show jumping rider.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Oh my God.
Brazil could win.
They could win. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Could you imagine? They almost won the Pan Ams. It could happen. I could see it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So anyway, I'm a little busted up, but I'm on the mend and stuff and doing all the bits and pieces. I've got the tape on, I've got the laser, and doing all of those sorts of things. I've actually I've quit the heavy duty painkillers.
That's good.
Because they just don't make me feel very good, Max, and I'm just taking handfuls of ibuprofen and everything's much better.
That's good.
Ice and rest and stuff and all the rest of it.
All the stuff they tell you to do that we never want to do.
Yeah.
Like, who wants to put a bag of ice on their ribs? It's just an awful idea.
No, I know.
It's terrible.
And it hurts too.
Yeah. So how was Eventing World at Chat Hills?
Well, it was another fantastic event at Chat Hills. It didn't go so fabulously for me because I was having a wee bit of trouble steering. But Johnny, we got through our dressage test, and Johnny did a fabulous cross-country show jumping round. Really, really easy. But by that time, I kind of used myself up a little bit. And I decided to run him the next day, and I just had a bit of trouble steering. So we had a drive-by, but it wasn't, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Because Johnny's the kind of horse that if he gets a chance to see where he's going, he'll jump it, So I'm not, but so that enough about me. It was a great event. There was 2 camps this week. I mean, there was the try on at the fork going on, and there was Chat Hills. Chat Hills this year put on, almost exactly the same amount of prize money as there was up at the Fork, which was fantastic for the 4-star class.
Yeah.
The weather was absolutely fantastic. It was proper eventing weather, and
we had a bit the same. It was pretty great, cool for the horses, and it was good for them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so it was great. The ground, we just had enough rain, like it rained heavy on the night of, I think it was Thursday night or Friday night. It rained really, really heavy, and like it was just enough to sort of soften the ground up at
Nice.
Chat, and
Yeah.
that done aerating and stuff. The courses were really, really good. There was a new tough combination in one of the waters, which is a new water jump, which was out sort of near the back of the course, which was an eyelash type brush fence on a curving line to another one back into a water pond, and it was reminiscent of the Colt Pond at Badminton way back,
Cool.
way back when. Some new stuff and things, and I think a lot of people got a really good runs before they went before Land Rover Kentucky, and obviously we've got people preparing themselves for Jersey and that sort of thing. So so Chat Hills did themselves proud again. It was great. It was really, really good. It's kind of I don't know, I suppose it's a comfort event for us, because it's like we have to go there and we have to stay because it's a little bit far from home, but it's not difficult. You get Airbnb, or there's hotels, or we take our camper, or it's fine.
It's manageable.
Not warm enough to swim in the lake though. That's the
Not yet.
Not yet, because Chat Hills has a number of lakes around it, which are a lot of fun. And when we go up there in the late spring, summer, or early fall, we get to go and swim in the lake in the evening, and it is just awesome. So, but not quite there. So beautiful weather, great courses. There is going to be advanced class in the May Chat Hills.
Oh, right. They've done that to help with the Bromont horses, haven't they?
That is exactly right. And I think it's picking up a bit of momentum. It was, I'm not going to say, well, it was my idea actually, because
it was, yeah.
I was thinking we really haven't got,
from now until Bromont, there's no advanced runs in Area 3.
That's right, unless you go up and do Jersey. So we called Hugh and asked him if we thought it could be something that they could do. And after last year, when they put one on in the September event, October, and Hugh said, well, if you can think you've got enough people, we can give it a go. And so we went on Facebook, and surprisingly, yes, there was quite a few people that are looking to do Chat, to want to, I run before Bromont. And I've even had people calling me from Virginia saying,
I don't even think in Area 2, they've got Fair Hill in 2 weeks, but to do something a little bit longer, farther away, it's pretty great.
Yeah. So that is exciting, that we'll have another really good run before we have to go all the way up to Bromont. And the other options was obviously to stop at Virginia on the way and run AI or intermediate. But no, I mean, just to have something in our home territory would be good. So it's great that the organisers are working with the riders on things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully the people that plan the calendar might be able to take a few lessons out of it. Well,
it's just a bit interesting that you mentioned the calendar, because Stableview has been trying to get an FEI date in between Carolina International and this week, which had the Fork and Chat Hills. And it was interesting. I was speaking to one of the course builders, and he was saying, in the end, it's actually a pity because you're taking a really good event away from the riders, because they're all really fantastic events. And to make people choose is actually not quite fair, in some ways too. You can't, it's going to spread everything a bit too thin to start with. Everybody's going to lose their numbers in the long run. And in the end, Stableview should have a nice date somewhere, but that's not the time or the place to have it. Is in the middle of between Carolina and Poplar one weekend, then to have them FEI again. So there would then be 4 FEI events within 3 hours within 3 weeks, which it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then Fair Hill wants to pump back their date to be the week after Carolina, which would be the same weekend as Ocala 3-day. So I think there's got to be some tweaking to be done in the calendar, because again, all these are all fantastic competitions. They all deserve their time, and they all deserve their, they work hard to make their competitions better every single solitary year. So they deserve a good date, but they're now piling it on top of each other, and so everyone's going to lose in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that, Max, but I am happy that there are now some choices, and that with choice there becomes an onus on the events to make themselves good enough that people will choose them.
Right.
And so, if there's one particular event where you go because you're very comfortable, or it suits you because it's not that far away, or it may be a little bit cheaper, or it might be
less days and all that,
money,
but,
less days and things. I think everybody's. I mean, this is another thing to mention, actually. I mean, Chat Hills had a bit of a rise in entries. I think, I'm not quite sure how much, but the difference was that we arrived on Wednesday and we'd gone by Saturday.
Yeah.
We arrived on Thursday. We were meant to go up. We were going to go up on Wednesday, but because I was feeling so sore, we drove up Thursday. I rode the horses Thursday night. We competed Friday dressage,
Saturday, yeah.
and show jumping, and ran cross country in the morning. Now, if I hadn't had students to teach, I could have been home by 6:00 in the evening.
Right.
So that starts to,
for sure.
Especially when especially when you've got
that if you're choosing that, but to have one in the middle there is just going to
look, I think it's without doubt it's going to throw a massive spanner in the works, and I think that when you've got a top event like Stableview, if you could just give them a date little bit more out there somewhere,
right,
they're gonna get more people to go.
Exactly. That's the thing.
And
it's not like and all of those other events that are around them, they get better every single time. They make adjustments, they listen to people, they work on things, they make everything better. So it's not that they're not good events that need to be looked over. They're all very good events.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we're going to be talking to Harry Meade later in the show, and there's been a bit of a shake-up there in the UK about, and from the general gist of it is British eventing have taken the FEI status away from some of the FEI competitions.
Yes.
And talking to a couple of my friends, it's because they say, that the course is outdated. You are on the side of a hill. It is old and it hasn't been refreshed. And there are other events that are running much better FEI competitions, and it's more, that's how it should be. Now, that's just the general gist I've got, but I think there's a lot of uproar, obviously, about it and things, and I think there's some events thinking that they shouldn't have had theirs taken away, but hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that a little bit when we speak to Harry later on in the show. So, Max, how's your Presidente? How's your Presidente apprenticeship going?
Well, it's interesting from time to time, Joe, as I think I was telling you earlier. It's actually been kind of interesting. I've enjoyed getting to know more people and do all that. But today I have 4 conference calls, which which I think is going to, well, I knew this coming into it. That was part of the deal, but it'll be interesting. But the nice thing is what they do is they try to have all the conference calls on one day. So you sort of get bombarded one day a month. You have these massive days of heinous conference calls, but then it's done. Then you don't have to do it anymore. So that works out pretty well.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be why you didn't want to record our show today, Max. Yeah.
Well, no, I was fine with that. I just couldn't do it anytime later because I've got one at 2, one at 4, one at 6. Oh, and then I get to do my taxes. So yes. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, poor you, Max.
It's all good. It's all good. We're all good. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Well, we better.
Right. Well,
get rolling.
It's probably time for our first guest, and we better get on with our show.
Joining us now is Jacob Fletcher. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Hey, Max. Thanks for having me.
So, Jacob, obviously you've you had a really super weekend at Chat Hills. But before we talk about that, tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, because it's not the average story, and what you've been up to and all that. You because you're not from the most normal area for eventing.
No, I'm from Arkansas. I still live there for over half the year. I think the closest event to us now is 5 hours away, and the closest FEI, the closest CCI, whatever you call it now, CCI long is like 12 hours for us. So we've got a journey for all competitions. But so I'm from Arkansas and just got into eventing. I originally started getting going with David O'Connor, and then he sent me to Mike Huber, which is our area coach, and then I've been with Mike since. From a young rider on. I spent a year in Europe with Kevin McNabb. That was in 2014, and then I've been back since, trying to perfect my craft.
Yeah, and you've been back, but you're also not just riding full time. You're also working. You went and did college and all that too, didn't you?
Yeah, I graduated in 2016, and when I'm in Florida, I just look at emails and keep check on some Excel files every day. But when I'm at home, I do half days in the office.
Yeah,
so
and
I'm an insurance salesman in the other day.
Right. And then, but you balance college and riding for the most part pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did have a groom then, but yeah, I had 6 going, mostly at the upper levels, and I was doing college full time as well. So. Yeah, it can be done.
I was going to say that's a question I feel like people get asked all the time is, can you do horses in college at the same time? But obviously there's sacrifices on both sides, but it is doable.
For sure. Yeah. You have to be able to study efficiently, maybe not go to all the frat and sorority parties.
What do you mean?
Things like that.
No. Don't lie. Don't pretend that you haven't been doing that. My goodness.
He just hasn't been to all of them. Only some of them. Yes. Yeah. You have to pick and choose.
Yeah, that's what I did. I picked and choose.
Excellent. And now you've got a place, because Joe and I always, we rant a lot about how great Ocala is. You guys now have a farm here in Ocala, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, I love Ocala. Yeah, we bought a place right across the street from Mike, so I get to wave to him in the morning.
Oh,
I think he's going to put up a big privacy fence after this winter.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's perfect, isn't it, Ocala? And it's only getting bigger and bigger, so I think it's the place to be for sure.
Yeah, there's lots to do and there's always, I feel like even if you have a young horse or an advanced horse, there's something, if you need to go practice, there's things to do everywhere, and good training and all that kind of stuff that comes through as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've been part of the under 25 USCF program for a bit too, haven't you?
I have. I was a bit ashamed this year because I've normally always been kind of the younger ones.
Yeah.
And I was the oldest this year.
The oldest.
Finally.
The oldest.
Oh, get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's all good though. But that must be kind of a fun week.
But yeah, the U25 stuff's been really good. I get along and work really well with Leslie, and Leslie and Mike work well together. So we're kind of a good little trio.
Yeah. And you've got to meet some of those other people that are on that under 25 squad as well, which is kind of fun because hopefully you guys are going to be what make up the next set of teams, somewhere down the line.
Yeah, that's been great. To be honest, I've tried to always make the winter training session, but I've normally missed the little 2-day training sessions in random spots in the year because it's really hard for me to pick up and leave the farm and the horse and the office business with just one horse and, drive 15 hours for 2 days of lessening. So I found that a bit tough with the program, but other than that, it's been great. And, I send Leslie videos at least a few times a week and catch up with him on the phone a few times a week. And when I'm in Ocala, I can go lesson with him as well. But yeah, it's been really cool to meet other people my age as well that are trying to get into the sport too.
Yeah. That's cool. So let's talk a little bit about your weekend. This was a big win for you. Was this your first FEI win?
No, I won. It's my second 4-star win. I won it last year on a different horse.
Oh, wow.
As well at Chattahoochee.
Oh, cool. So you've got sort of good vibes there.
Yeah, I've got good vibes, so I will probably be going back next year too. Seems to be working.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Atlantic Domino horse was amazing around. He did his best test ever at the Red Hills in his dressage, did an amazing cross-country round and made the time. But he twisted his fetlock there, so he didn't get to finish. And he's going to be out for Kentucky now from that.
Oh,
so that was a bit of a bust.
no.
So I kind of decided instead of just being dark and depressed that we were going to pick ourselves up, try to get a result at Chattahoochee instead.
Good for you. That's awesome.
I know it's not nearly as big, but we did get the job done.
You're still under 25. You got other years. Yeah. But so you had the Van Gogh horse. Tell us a little bit about that horse.
Sure. I bought him from the Smith brothers. I don't know, and then in 2013, as I think he was a 4-year-old then. And I've just produced him up since then. Yvonne Monahan found him for me. She's found a few really, really good horses for me. And he was really quick. When I guess he was actually 5 when I got him, because like in 6 months, he'd went to the Tattersall CCI 1-star.
Oh, wow.
So he was really, really quick study when he was younger, but he's a very big horse. So I actually found that I had to hang out at the 1-star prelim level for like 1 or 2 more years on him. And he was one of the ones, since he wasn't going 3-star when I was packing in all the hours at uni to finish up quickly. He was a little bit on the back burner. He just did some local shows and no large FEI competitions, which I think at the end of the day was probably good for him, because he's matured heaps now and can go fast apparently, which I never thought he would.
Yeah. It looks like you're the only one that made time.
Yeah, he was hauling. But yeah, he's turned out to be really good. Hopefully we can polish up the dressage a little bit more, and we'll be in business. And
do you have an aim for him? Is he going to go do a long format this spring, or what's his plan?
Yeah, he's doing the Jersey CCI 4 long.
Oh, very good. Excellent.
So
excellent.
Fingers crossed there.
And you had other horses there as well. You had you had one in the 3-star, did you? And I think one in the 2-star. Yes, you did.
Yeah. Mischief Man is Albus was in the 3-star.
Yep.
And I think he finished 3rd.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's an 8-year-old, and he doesn't look it. When you look at him, he just looks like an Irish draft horse.
Oh.
He's actually like almost 90% thoroughbred.
Yeah.
He's by an Irish racing stallion called Albano, and then he's out of a Lawton's Flight mare, but then the dam on the mare is full thoroughbred as well. So
Cool.
He keeps the thoroughbred, but he does not behave or look it.
Right.
But he's starting to get quicker as well. He's one of those that's only ever had just one gear.
Right.
But the one gear is slowly getting faster and faster.
That's
so
good.
hopefully that'll work out as well. But yeah, I got him as a 4-year-old, and Kevin McNabb found him for me. And he was a terror for the first 2 years of his life.
Most Irish horses are.
He has turned the leaf
Yeah.
recently. So yeah, I'm really excited about him. So hopefully he comes on more. If I went a bit faster, I could have placed a little higher on him too, but I nearly tried to kill myself in one of the corner combinations. So I simmered down a bit, took a breath, thought,
yeah,
maybe shouldn't go for both of them today.
Maybe not. No, exactly. Exactly. And you've got the mare that you have was second in the 2-star.
Yeah, Stephanie Wiley's mare. Oh, she was fantastic. We've put a bit of pressure on her, and poor girl's gone up the levels quickly, because I think the first time she competed was with me in late April last year. And she's just a 6-year-old this year, so she's zoomed up the grades as well.
That's cool.
But yeah, her and I are really excited about her. So she's been great. She's a noblest quality mare out of a Flagmount Diamond.
Oh, cool. That's some pretty good breeding.
Yeah, so she's well bred too.
Yeah.
I need to offer a public apology to Stephanie, though. I've been telling her for months that she's going to go to the Jersey Fresh CCI 2-star long. I completely forgot that they didn't even have that.
Oh, the wrong right when it's all confusing. The 2-star break, because it's a 3-4-star. Yeah, it's still. I think everybody's going to take us an entire year.
Yeah, I had to call her yesterday. I was like, Stephanie,
I
she
got my
can't go
notes
there
wrong.
because there's no divisions for her.
She ain't qualified.
I'm really sorry.
Oh man.
But yeah, she was really good too. So she'll get a well-deserved vacation here for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Very good. And the 501 in front of your horse's names, is that the short for your area code for your
Yeah,
for
that's my phone area code. Yeah, the 501 Dogtown. That's what back at home we always said we're from the 501. That was our
right.
phone area code. So
That's funny.
we stuck with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next?
Maybe
on
a little strange, but it's at least unique. Nobody
exactly.
else has done that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Well, you're from Arkansas, though.
Yeah.
So you can be
Yes,
you
I
can
am.
be a little strange.
Oh, I knew you were going there. You're from New Zealand now. Hey, that's not heaps better.
Exactly.
No. Well,
All you
we're more
Antipodeans, you guys are bubble.
we're more weird. Okay.
Okay. So eclectic.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we're more like outback Australians in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I would have said that. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, dear. No, I like it. I've got some great mates up in Arkansas. I've been up to the races there and stuff. I've had nothing but fun.
Yeah, you've been to Oklahoma.
Yep.
No, Arkansas is heaps of fun. It's a beautiful place, actually. Very underrated.
Yeah. No, it's I've been up there a few times and stuff, and it's really nice. So,
I'm amazed you didn't want to leave.
Well, I mean, the best bit about Arkansas is it's above Texas, So
yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm
when
not
you're
a big fan of Texas, and it drives me nuts because that road for Area 5 for ages that everybody just assumes I'm from Texas. Oh, that rubs me wrong.
Oh,
yeah,
that's what it's like when people ask Joe if he's from Australia. Are you Australian? Are you British?
I nearly said that when he said about Arkansas. I nearly called him Australian.
No, don't do that.
Piss, but I held
don't
back.
do that.
I held back.
But you see, that happens to me about 3 days a week, actually.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Happens to me 3 days a week. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Yes. Are you from Australia? And then I say, no, I'm not. And then they draw a complete blank because they do not know any other place.
The only way I can tell a difference between an Australian and New Zealand accent is how you guys say 7 differently.
Right. Okay.
That's like
Steven.
the homing beacon for me.
It is. Steven.
It's the you've just got the way the Australians speak. It's like putting a clip on the end of your nose. All right.
So I've got a little clip on my end of my nose like this. I think it's just, I sound like an orchid.
So that's kind of the difference, all right? And I guess it's part of the heritage. I mean, we came from colonial settlers, and Australians came from colonial robbers and thieves. So
Oh my god.
there's just kind of subtle differences.
Little subtle. Yeah. Oh god. Oh jeez. There we go. So back to the task at hand, Jacob. What's next on the dock for you?
The next bit's Jersey, short term, and long term. I have absolutely no idea for the rest of this year. But we'll see. If the Chestnut Bacardi W comes around okay, I may try and sneak him off to Blenheim.
Oh, very cool.
And maybe take the 8-year-old gray one to the 8s and 9s.
Very cool.
Yep.
That would be fun.
We'll see on that, but really, I don't have many cemented plans for later this year, to be honest.
And then how long are you in Ocala for? When do you guys move back home?
We go to Jersey from Ocala, and then I'll go home right after Jersey.
Yes, because that's right on the way. That's a pain, but it's what it is. Yeah. Oh, that'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll start moving most of the horses back home, probably within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then head up. It's actually Jersey's not that far away, is it? It's only a few weeks away.
Oh my gosh.
No. It's
I feel like
coming up
quick.
quick.
Yeah, this year's just gone by so quickly. I'm not really sure how it became middle of April.
Yeah, definitely going to have to stop halfway somewhere.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Excellent. Super. Well, Jacob, we're going to let you get back to your bazillion horses and do some more trot sets and all that kind of good stuff. But thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today. And we will be cheering you on from up at Jersey.
Cheers. No worries. Thanks for having me.
The Eventing Riders Association of North America is the collective voice of riders, equine professionals, and owners in pursuit of enhancing the growing sport of eventing in North America. In cooperation with our members, governing bodies, related committees, and organizers, ERA of NA works to improve the overall welfare, safety, visibility, and growth of the sport. ERA of NA, your voice matters for the sport of eventing. Jump in and engage by becoming a member today. Find them online at www.eraofna.com.
Joining us now is a good friend of mine I haven't spoken to for a long time, Harry Meade. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking some time. I tried to get hold of Harry yesterday, but he was tied up in squad training, so we've finally got hold of him now. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, Harry. I mean, we normally get Bruce Haskell on to talk about some of these things, but I thought we'd try someone a little bit sort of more new and younger and perhaps more modern or something like that. So we've had a lot of rule changes, Harry, and it seems to be another one of those funny little minefields of like, you know, what is really actually going on. And there was a 50 penalty rule last year with corners, and now it's sort of been changed to something else. And from my own experience a few weeks ago, I knocked down a flag and I was called that I was clear. And then across the tannoy came, Joe Meyer has 11 penalties. And then it was 15. And then finally it became clear, but it was all just very, very confusing. So I was just wondering if you could just run through a few of the rule changes for us and try and make it a little bit clearer to us.
Yeah, so to understand this run-out rule, you sort of got to go back in time a little bit to understand the thinking behind it. So pre-1st of January 2017, the run-out rule was simple. You got 20 penalties if the horse didn't jump the fence, and didn't jump the fence included either having a refusal or running out. And what constituted jumping clear was the point of the shoulder going the correct side of the flag. So that was all quite straightforward. They then were concerned because at that point they were talking about this new concept of the 3 per team rather than the 4 in a team at the Olympics with a discard score. And what would happen if somebody had a possible run out, weren't quite sure if they were clear, thought they were, and carried on, jumped the next fence, were in fact given a run out, and because they didn't represent, they would then eliminate themselves and their entire team now that there's no discard score. So at that time, they thought the sensible thing would be to try and create a rule which allowed the horse and rider to complete the competition with penalties and for their team to compete. But since then, they created another rule which meant that an eliminated horse in any one phase can be substituted back in, or another reserve rider can be substituted in. So therefore, an eliminated rider can actually, they no longer eliminate their team. So it's effectively made that 50 penalty rule obsolete. It's now no longer needed. Then, so in 2017, we went into the start of the season with 50 penalties. The other thing just to be aware of was there was the odd situation where a horse occasionally, and we saw Stuart Tinney do it in Adelaide, in Australia, and we saw Capital Daniels do it in Lemulan, and actually Marcio Georges did it in the Rio Olympics, which is where a horse jumps the fence, but the back end never actually takes off. And because the shoulder goes the correct side of the flag, they are technically clear, but there's a strong feeling by other competitors and officials and the public that the horse should have been penalised. So for that reason, they added in at the beginning of this season new wording to the rules, which was it was reduced down to 15 rather than 50. But they said that a horse had to jump with its entire body, excluding the limbs. But every part of its body has to go, not just the correct side of the flag, but the correct side of the imaginary line where the flag was originally positioned.
Right.
Which I can understand the theory of that, and lots of people have felt, if a horse hasn't done that, they haven't really answered the question. But we all know that cross country it's a speed sport, with travelling at high speeds to very narrow angled fences. To not be able to kiss the flag really is unrealistic, and we could foresee there was a problem here. So at the back end of last year, or really from about sort of July, August onwards, once this drafted rule for this year came into effect, a group of us riders got together to sort of try and form a plan of what we felt was sensible. And at the same time, a group of officials were also doing the same thing. And we came to a very similar conclusion, which is that basically if a horse jumps with the shoulder the correct side of the flag, they should be clear. Now, obviously, you've also got the situation of if the back end doesn't jump. So what we proposed was that there's a very simple wording, which is the shoulder should go to the correct side of the flag and the back end should jump. The back end jumping is fairly binary. It either jumps or it doesn't. You don't really get situations in between.
Right.
So that just gives 2 points for judging it, which is quite straightforward. It's also very clear when you watch it first time round. You don't need to endlessly be watching on slow motion cameras, and most importantly, it gets a fair result, one which any sensible horseman would look at and say, "Yep, that's clear," or "No, it's not."
Right. Okay. This is fairly complicated. So where we've got to is if the shoulders they have to go through the flags. The hind end has to make some attempt of actual jumping, and by that, I mean I know what you mean. Whereas the hind end sort of doesn't really go off the ground and skews off to the side and goes past a corner, and that is deemed as not making an effort, So how does the 15 penalties work in regards to eliminations and things? I mean, this is where. At what point can people just carry on going, and when do you find out you're eliminated?
So you're not eliminated unless you're deemed to have missed the fence, which again is quite confusing. Where it says if less than the majority of the horse passes through the flag, passes the correct side of the flag, then it is deemed to have been a missed obstacle. Then if you jump to the next fence, you're eliminated. So what we're proposing is that you get rid of the 15 penalties or 50 penalties, whatever it is. You just say it's binary. A horse either jumps the fence correctly or it has a run out. If it has a run out, you have to turn around, jump it again. And if you don't jump it again, you carry on, you're eliminated. But the crucial thing to this is that you want to make it obvious enough in the wording of the rule that every rider will know when they miss this. Because if you said, look, if the shoulder doesn't go to the correct side of the flag, you can nudge the flag, you can touch the flag, you can do whatever you want. But if the shoulder doesn't go to the right side of the flag, then you haven't jumped the fence. And that's the rule that we used to have. And you had very few incidents of somebody missing a flag until they started tampering with it.
Right. Okay.
And
so
the way they're judging it at the moment is because, and just to clarify, that concept that we put forward hasn't come into effect, and it may not.
Yes.
They may not accept it. But at the moment, the way they judge it is they say every part of the horse, excluding the limbs, has to go to the correct side of the flag. So the way they judge that is, and I was actually a victim of this. Ironically, having spent about 30 hours of meetings over the winter on this rule, the first combination I jumped at fence 5, my first FEI run this season, I had a horse which jumped, and the footage was pretty widely spread on social media, but I jumped the correct side of it. My shin it knocked the flag down. But the way they judge it is they take the head-on image, they cover the flag, they pause it, they cover the flag with a ruler, and they see the horse in slow motion jumping. And if any part of the horse touches that line where the ruler was, then they say that's 15 penalties. And we're talking about even the quarters as they take off before they even get to the highest point. If they drift to touch that line, but we all know
for goodness sake, that's just.
And it's very difficult to see when you're judging something head on, because you've got the foreshortening. You can't see how far away from the flag they are. All you can see is a sort of lateral width of the horse. So the only way to judge is not that we want to go down this route, but will be to have two cameras, one side on, one head on, and for them to be synced, so you can see what part of the horse you're meant to be looking at that particular time. But we don't want to be doing this forensic analysis in a laboratory 5 hours afterwards. At this event at Belton, I was given 15 penalties. I came back, thought I'd had a great ride, and then I had about 10 messages on my phone from people who'd been watching the live stream saying, no way, that's unbelievable, they've given me 15 penalties for that. So I went over to see the ground jury, and the ground jury said, look, we've got so many reviews, the TD's having to go through the reviews in blocks of 6 at a time, because there's so many horses that have been cited for this. And at which point the 15 penalties dropped off the live scoreboard. So I then got a load of messages saying, thank goodness they've taken it away. So I said thanks very much to them, went away, rode my other horse around the same course, spent a bit of time with my owners, then we packed up and drove home. And we'd left the event and we'd gone about 20 minutes down the road, and at that point the 15 penalties popped back onto the scoreboard. And they'd obviously looked at it again and decided there was 15 penalties, at which point I turned around, went back to the event. By the time I got back there, the TD had gone home, the president of the ground jury had gone home, and the whole thing, effectively the competition is over. You can't start retrospectively changing the narrative of the competition. We need to try and make as many rules try and fit within the real-time course of the competition, so you're not having to retrospectively tweak the leaderboard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a fairly similar experience, but luckily it was very, very clear that all of my horse went inside the flags, and the flag was taken out by my knee or one of the horse's legs. So I mean, the body of the horse was definitely inside. But it was just goes the confusion at the time was I was given 11. I mean, they didn't really even know what it was, and we were all sort of running around trying to figure out these rules as we went. But that combined with, and there was another problem, and this is at Red Hills Horse Trials International, was a lot of the iPads that they were using for the filming weren't fully charged, and that was becoming a problem, and they were trying to email the footage to the ground jury and things, and it all just becomes a bit of a can of worms. And it's not so bad here in the States where there's not as many people, but I can imagine if you've got, a competition like Belton or something where you've got loads and loads and loads in the FEI classes, and maybe one particular tricky fence that the flag's coming down a lot, then the ground jury's tied up very quickly. Yeah, well,
we had the same thing at Belton where it was all put onto one of the FEI stewards' laptops, and that ran out of battery. So it's just trying to keep it simple. I think the one thing that we really, just having sort of got feedback from a lot of riders, one thing we really don't want to go down is the simple, and in many ways it would be the easiest to judge, but if you knock a flag down, it's automatic penalties regardless of how good or bad it is, because that is totally against what cross-country riding is about. And we know that the way you hit a fence, the likelihood of the flag coming down isn't just linked to how badly you infringe upon the flag. It's actually just simple. If your foot goes the wrong side, if the foot goes one side of the flag, or the horse's foot goes one side of the flag, that can take a flag down. Whereas if a horse really leans on the flag with his body, the flag can stay up. So it's something which actually we should be able just to go back to the old original rule, which is really simple, which just says the shoulder has to go to the correct side, but we add one thing to that, which is just say that the back end has to jump. I think with penalising automatically for knocking a flag down, we're in danger of punishing horses that have done nothing wrong, which is, it's not fine, but it's sort of okay to a level. But you find that somebody's in line to win an Olympic gold medal and they lose that because their foot hits a flag, or the other end of the scale, somebody who's about to go to university and they've got one last shot to a 1-star, and it's their absolute dream and their lifelong ambition, because they're going to then sell their horse and give up eventing, and if they get caught out in that, it's really sad, and it's totally avoidable, and it's up to us to try and get the right rule in place.
Well, I'd go one step further, and I think that if that ever came to fruition, that it would be a safety issue for me, because I would really hate to see eventing turning into somewhere where you've got to be so absolutely accurate that you're scared of taking down a flag. And I think that that's going to encourage people to ride backwards, not forwards. And it's against the actual cross-country principles. I think people would start to think, oh, goodness, I might add a stride here, and we would see worse things happen, and instead of, So
we all know that good cross-country riding is attacking positive cross-country riding, and the two most dangerous styles of riding are either when you get somebody who is a complete lunatic and goes flat out at the wrong type of fence, and then the horse chips and you have a bad fall. But it's equally bad as if you get somebody who rides in a very backward way, adding strides in front of fences unnecessarily, because that is equally dangerous. And you take a corner, for example. If you've got a vested interest to try and stay away from that flag, it's rewarding you for jumping the widest part of the corner, but also not just the widest part, but holding them to that point. And obviously, at a corner, the wider part comes out towards you, so you end up being more likely to meet that on a deep spot. And it's completely not. It's not right for safety, but it's also, more importantly, in the long term, of what we're trying to do as a sport and what we're trying to do for the next generations of horses and riders. It's not the culture and the philosophy we want to build into the direction of riding.
No, absolutely not. And I guess that this has probably come around because questions have got harder and things have got narrower. There's much more narrow. There's more accuracy called for. It wasn't quite as difficult as this a long way back, but in the good old days or the bad old days. But there was different challenges then as well. But now we have got fences that are narrow and it calls for more accuracy. But like we just said, Harry, it's riding forward is what makes you ride straight. I think there's also a misconception, which is that riders try and save a second by aiming at the flags, which is nonsense. We don't. The level of accuracy now is so high, and so it's a little bit like downhill skiing. If you're skiing and you're getting the correct side of a gate, you're judging something to the inch at high speeds, and you're not trying to hit a flag. You're just trying to jump through the space, and sometimes you kiss that flag, but that's not the same as jumping the wrong side of it. So it's trying to look like that. But actually, there was a point you just raised, which is really interesting, because course design goes through stages, and you get a decade of a certain type of question, and it's very difficult, and then towards the end of that decade, people become used to it. That message gets filtered down. It starts being recreated at lower levels. You start seeing miniature versions of those kind of questions at pony club events, and before you know it, horses and riders can do it pretty fluently. And that's where the course designer then needs to come up with a new idea. And we've gone from having your big imposing fences to sort of corners coming in the 90s. And then at the start of this century, sort of arrowheads and real accuracy questions. And now in the last sort of 5 years or so, we've seen a sort of further development where you've got extreme angles, including rotating a corner so that the line you have to approach a corner is almost parallel to the face you're having to jump, so the corner's twisted round effectively. And
we've started pushing those kind of things to the extremes. And you talk to the top course designers, and they're under pressure to obviously not create horse falls, but they've got to have an influence on the leaderboard. So it's a true 3-phase competition, and they understandably say, how do we find a new direction to go in? How do we test people? Because we're sort of running out of ideas. And there is one suggestion which could potentially answer so many different challenges, which is to take your jumping efforts, which at the moment at 5 stars capped to 45 jumping efforts. If you excluded plain ditches, so not a chicane or anything, but just a ditch without a fence over it, and also steps up and down. If you exclude those from the jumping quota, then you can start to build interesting fences like staircases and sunken roads, which encourage the right type of riding. You don't normally get bad falls there. It encourages the right type of riding, which takes a gear change, and it also that the sort of fences that really represent the true spirit of what cross country is. It will be a good training process for the next generation of horses and riders. It also, for the public, it takes eventing back into being what the USP of the sport is, which is seeing the iconic sort of cross-country fences instead of just a load of angles, which if you're watching on TV, it becomes quite boring. You know, if you haven't walked the course and you can't appreciate the angles or something, it becomes quite plain. If you imagine having all cross-country courses without water jumps, it would be pretty bland. Whereas if we can start adding in sunken roads and staircases. Now, the reason why we don't see them on courses is because if you put a staircase with a fence at the top, a fence at the bottom, and 3 steps down, that's 5 jumping efforts. Or if you have a sunken road with a fence either side of a step down and a step up, that's 4 jumping efforts.
Right.
Your total quota is 45. So any one of those combinations is using 10% of your total quota. And the fewer fences you have around the course, the easier it is for people to make the time, because horses travel. Now we've got no road and track and steeplechase. Horses travel. They cruise around a 10 or 12-minute course at a higher speed than 570 meters a minute. So the course designer, unless you've got steep terrain or it's soft going, the course designer has to start, even at Burley, where it's very hilly, course designers have to start putting in roundabouts and twists and turns to try and bring our average speed down, because they know that if they don't, then too many people are going to make the time. Whereas you could start to design courses that are actually more fun for the horses, where you lose some of those disorientating roundabouts, and you put in instead some of these classic fences like sunken roads and staircases. And you're able to do that because you're not losing another jumping effort later on in the course by putting this fence in.
Yeah, well, that's very, very interesting. I mean, like when you put it as clear as that, it makes it very true. And I especially like your comment about encouraging people to make a gear change, because I think that is very, very important. You know, like a lot of people sort of just, I don't want to say that the art of cross country is gone, but it not that it has. I'm just joking, but I mean, a lot of people have got good at jumping narrows and turns and things like that. But I mean, to be able to have to slow down to do something, and you know, it wasn't well. And we can remember, Harry, but there's times when we needed to pull up to a trot to jump a fence, in cross country, and that hasn't happened for a very long time. But no, there's. I always think that cross country should test. It's a bit like an exam. It should test the entire syllabus. So it shouldn't just ask you the same question in 10 different ways. You shouldn't just be, can you jump an angle fence? Can you jump an angle fence? Can you jump a narrow fence? Can you hold your line? It should be testing every type of question that we have on the cross country syllabus. And for that, and you use exactly the right term, which is gear changes. It's not speed changes, it's gear changes. So you've really got 4 variations. You've got low speed, low revs, which is like coming back to a trot and popping something. You've got low speed, high revs, like jumping your coffin or jumping up a staircase, and then you've got high speed, low revs, like jumping a big galloping chase fence, and then you've got high speed, high revs, like jumping a
a big, a combination of big square tables or something. And really, a good course should test all of that. And what we've seen, I'd say in the last 10 years, we've seen a move to galloping courses, which then are interspersed with, or parts of the courses which are galloping are interspersed with these slow sections where it brings your average speed down, and it might be a test of accuracy, but it's not really a true change of gear where you've got to drop the speed down and at the same time put up the revs and the energy and the impulsion, and maintain that attacking, albeit at a slower pace, style of riding before you get back into your motorway or freeway type of travelling over some of the easier fences you can jump out of a low gear at a cruising gallop.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this all day. I mean, talking to one of my students on the weekend and trying to explain that there's some parts of the course which are going to take a little bit longer. So don't try and be on every single minute marker all of the way. You've got to say, I've got this going on and this one, and there's maybe only one fence in this minute, so this is the time that I'm going to make up. So it teaches people how to be able to ride their horse the most effectively, especially for fitness work. To be able to say, okay, well, this has taken me a little bit longer, but I know that over here I'm going to be able to make up some time, or at the end of the course looks very, very tight, I need to be a little bit up, or, the horse towards the end of the course, the horse is much more bold and running and going and right into a stride.
The same question of fence 5 or fence 20 is going to ride completely differently, because their stride is nearly half as long again by the time you get to fence 20, whereas they're bouncing like a deer or a gazelle, fence 5, whereas they're long and flat by fence 20.
Yeah. Well, Harry, I wanted to ask you another question, and this is something that I've seen a little bit of, and I'm not really sure about, and that is on your side of the pond. There's been a bit of a shake-up on as far as like FEI competitions and things, and I believe BE have taken some of the FEI status off some of the competitions. And could you just explain to us roughly what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm not connected to either B or any of the events. So I'm sort of speaking purely as a relatively uninformed observer on this. But I think over the decades we've seen an evolution of the calendar where events have come in and other ones have gone, and from the original placement of where the international events were. There was a feeling that there was a sort of rejigging was needed to make sure that the spread of events was appropriate, both across the months during the calendar season and also geographically in different bits of the UK. So what they did was in one big sweeping change, rather than trying to just push an event a week forward here or a week back there, or stop a clash somewhere else in the season, they effectively took away all the international fixtures, got all the events to reapply for them, and then assessed each event on its merits before reallocating them. Now, when you make big sweeping changes like that, it's going to ruffle some feathers. And I think that there's been quite a lot of disquiet about that and frustration in some quarters. But it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, because I think that the principle of what they were trying to do was right. And when you make sweeping changes like that, you're not going to get it exactly right first time round. But hopefully the overall spread of events will be better, and I'm sure they will look to make some changes. And there's simple things like the southwest of the UK has lost quite a lot of events, and that's typically quite a sort of eventing heavy area where you get it's eventing's probably a bit bigger in the south of England than it is in the north, so you get more members down there. Land prices are slightly less expensive once you get further west and away from London, but because they've reallocated a lot of the events up north, it means they're much happier, because in the north they're now having to drive an hour and a half to get to an event rather than 6 hours, which is great and completely right for them. But equally, you need to make sure that where there's a higher density of competitors, that there's also enough entries to go around. So I do think, I think we've just got to bear with it at the moment. I think they're doing this for the right reasons. They're ruffling some feathers because some good events that have put a lot of effort into their international courses have either lost them or been downgraded at a level. But hopefully there will be changes. I don't know whether that'll be this season or whether it'll be over the next couple of seasons to try and get the optimum line. So hopefully we'll be in a strong position.
Well, I mean, it must be tough on organisers that have got sponsors on the back of FEI competitions, and for the part of their support. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. Again, I'm not entirely sure what the individual arrangements are about that, how much warning they're given,
Sure.
but it's going to impact because some sponsors will only want to sponsor if there is an international class. Equally, they are trying to serve the members, and they're trying to make sure that the best events have the international classes. So they've looked at a whole host of factors, but it's something that is tough. I do feel for the organisers, but hopefully we will end up with a sort of satisfactory conclusion after any initial teething problems.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, Harry, before we let you go, I want you to just tell me how you've been getting on yourself, and you must be you've had a couple of runs, or one or two runs so far, and you're probably looking forward to badminton. Is that right?
Yeah. So I've done. We've sort of had a month of competing. So I probably had about 40 or 50 starts, and they've all the horses are going well. We've had pretty good weather this spring so far. So last year we lost a lot of the early events, and really now all eyes on badminton. I've got the same horses as I rode there last year. A lovely grey horse called Away Cruising. And he finished 6th at Burley at the end of the year, and looking to really try and give it our best shot. He's feeling great. His dressage is really smart. It's the big challenge for him is show jumping. It's a phase he's found sort of very hard for his technique. But he's had one fence down at his last 3 5-star events. So I'm going to try and do that again. I'm aware.
That's not so bad.
No, I know, but he's a horse who could go and have 4 or 5 down.
Right.
So I've just got to try, and I've got a very clear plan of how I'm going to ride it, and if that comes off, brilliant. And if it doesn't, as long as I've stuck to my plan, then you've just got to be able to shrug your shoulders, take it on the chin, and try out the next one.
Yeah. Well, we all know about that. Okay. Well, all right. Well, Harry, thank you so much for taking this time to come on the show, and it's been fantastic talking to you, and very, very interesting and enlightening. And I'm sure our listeners will really enjoy it. But good luck for the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you again. Well, Max, we've had a great show, and I think it's about time you ended up doing these closing bits for us.
Yes. Exactly. So everyone, thank you so much for listening to the Eventing Riders Association of North America podcast. You can learn more about Eventing Riders Association of North America at eraofna.com. Find the links to today's guests and topics at eventingradio.com. Follow Eventing Radio on Facebook. Just search for The Eventing Radio Show, and on Twitter at Eventing Radio. Listen to Eventing Radio anytime, anywhere with a free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone and Android. Go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. You can also subscribe via iTunes. This is Max, and you can find me on Facebook, Max Corcoran Horse Care. You can't find me on Twitter because I don't do that. You can find me on Instagram at MMC338, and you can read all my old blogs at Max Corcoran WordPress. Just being honest, sorry.
And this is Joe, and you can find me on Facebook, Joe Meyer. You can go to my website, joemeyereventing.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Joe Meyer EVNTR, and you can follow me on Instagram, Joe Meyer Eventing.